Imagine for a moment that you are a member of the British royal family, or perhaps a high-flying CEO in the mid-1990s. You need a vehicle that says, "I have arrived," but also, "I can drive over a mountain if I feel like it." In 1994, there was only one answer: the Range Rover P38. It was the successor to the legendary Classic, the car that defined the luxury SUV segment. It was bigger, more comfortable, and packed with more technology than a space shuttle. But today, the P38 is often whispered about in mechanic shops as the car that breaks hearts and bank accounts. So, which is it? A highway icon of British prestige or a self-destructing engineering disaster? To understand the P38, you have to understand the pressure Land Rover was under. The original Range Rover Classic had been in production for an unbelievable 25 years. By the early 90s, it was a dinosaur. Land Rover needed something that could compete with the rising tide of luxury cars from Germany and Japan. They needed to move from being a posh tractor to a rolling palace. And when the P38 launched, it looked like they had succeeded. It featured a whisper-quiet cabin, Connolly leather, polished walnut trim, and an air suspension system that made you feel like you were floating on a cloud. It was the ultimate status symbol. If you saw a P38 on the highway in 1996, you knew the person behind the wheel was someone important. But, as the saying goes, with great luxury comes great complexity, and the P38 was the most complex vehicle Land Rover had ever built. Let's start with the heart of the disaster side, the electronic air suspension, or EAS. On paper, it was brilliant. It could lower the car at highway speeds for better aerodynamics and raise it for off-roading. In reality, it was a ticking bomb. The rubber airbags would perish, the compressor would burn out trying to keep up with leaks, and the sensors would get confused. Owners would walk out to their driveways in the morning only to find their expensive SUV sitting on its bump stops, looking like a sad, broken lowrider. To fix it properly cost thousands. To ignore it made the car undrivable. Then there were the engines. The P38 used the venerable Rover V8, stretched to 4.0 and 4.6 liters. By this point, the tooling for these engines was old, and the tolerances were, let's say, British. These engines were notorious for slipped cylinder liners and head gasket failures. If the needle on your temperature gauge moved even a fraction too far to the right, you were looking at a bill that often exceeded the value of the car. It was an engine designed in the 60s, trying to power a 2.5-ton luxury tank in the 90s, and it was stressed to its breaking point. But the real final boss of the P38's engineering disasters was the electronics, specifically the BeCM, or Body Electrical Control Module. In a quest to be high-tech, Land Rover decided that every single electrical function, from the windows to the anti-theft system, should be routed through one computer. If that computer got damp, or if the battery voltage dropped just a little too low, the car would enter engine immobilized mode. It would literally lock you out of your own vehicle. Owners found themselves stranded in parking lots, not because of a mechanical failure, but because the car's brain decided it didn't recognize the key anymore. So, with all these nightmares, why do we still call it an icon?
Because when a P38 is working, there is nothing else like it. The command driving position gives you a view of the road that makes you feel invincible. The way the V8 rumbles when it's not overheating is soulful in a way a modern turbocharged four-cylinder could never be. It has a presence. A P38 covered in mud at a country estate looks more at home than any modern SUV covered in plastic chrome. It was the last Range Rover that felt truly mechanical and rugged, even if that mechanics were flawed. The P38 also pushed the boundaries of what an SUV could be. It proved that people wanted a vehicle that was just as capable at the valet stand of a five-star hotel as it was crossing a river in the Highlands. Without the P38's bold and perhaps overambitious leap into technology, the modern luxury SUV market as we know it might not exist. Today, the P38 is in a strange spot. You can buy one for the price of a used Vespa, but you'll need the budget of a small nation to keep it running perfectly. It is the ultimate love-hate relationship. Enthusiasts who spend the time to bulletproof the cooling system and swap the airbags for coil springs or meticulously maintain the original system will tell you it's the best car they've ever owned. Mechanics who have to chase an electrical ghost behind the dashboard for 10 hours will tell you to run away as fast as you can. So, the verdict? The Range Rover P38 is a rare breed that manages to be both. It is a highway icon for its undeniable style, prestige, and the way it paved the road for the luxury SUVs of today. But it is also undeniably an engineering disaster. It was a car where the ambition of the designers far outpaced the capability of the technology available to them at the time. It is a beautiful, flawed, aristocratic masterpiece. It's a car that demands your respect, your patience, and most importantly, your credit card. But I want to hear from you. Is the P38 a misunderstood classic that deserves to be saved, or is it a money pit that should be left in the history books? Have you ever dared to own one? Let me know your horror stories or your love stories in the comments below.